everybody on this nice, cool morning?
Good.
I woke up this morning, and of course, like she said, I lived in Ocala, and I was like, ooh, there's a little chill in the air. It's only 56 out. It's starting to feel like Christmas. Today I want to talk to you about what is your focus, which is kind of tricky around the holidays because I'm sure everybody's focus is getting gifts, planning dinner parties. What are you gonna do for the New Year's? How many people are done their Christmas shopping? Every year I say to myself, I'm going to start earlier, I'm going to start earlier. So this year I did. I started in October and I'm done. But it's easy for us to get involved in all that energy as we go in Walmart and the malls, and you can feel all that excitement and that rush and that hurriedness with everybody, can't you? I mean, you can even see it on the road sometimes, as I found out driving down here today. And I want to talk to you today about focusing yourself, whether you're focusing outward or whether you're focusing inward. Now there's a delicate balance between these two because we can't live in this world and just focus inward, can we? No, because we have to function, we have to see what's going on around us. But do we get caught up in that outwardness and bring that in? Which is very easy to do, as I said, when you're shopping and people are cutting in front of you and the lines are very long. It's very easy to be focused outward. And it's sometimes difficult to remember and take a deep breath and say, okay, this is just going on around me, and I am bringing that in and interpreting it in my own way. It's interesting because, as you know, I'm a home health care nurse, so I travel a lot in my car. And as I'm going to people's houses, instead of thinking when people cut in front of me, why did they do that? What I do is I say, you know, maybe they're on their way to the hospital. Maybe there's somebody who's sick. So even though it's outside, I'm changing my internal dialogue. It's very easy when we look at the news and all the political information that's going on nowadays. Don't worry, I'm not going to get into that. But it's easy for us to get caught up. And when we start thinking with our brains, what's going on, and then we can start to feel that. Have you ever felt that when you watch the political stuff? It's almost like you're just on edge. Because what you're doing is you're taking that in. Instead of leaving it external and knowing that this too shall pass. But we are full of emotions and thoughts. And do you know that we each think 10,000 thoughts a day? That's a lot. Our brains are always working, always thinking, always interpreting. Because we had to. Way back in the caveman days, we had to be on guard. We had to be watching things. You know, we had to make sure that the big, I don't know the name of a dinosaur, but anyway, that one of those wouldn't get us. Pterodactyl. So we had to always be thinking. We had to be focused outside for our safety, for our survival. We also had to be focused on getting food and finding food. It's a little easier today. We just go down to the grocery store and pick out what we want. And how many wonderful choices do we have now that they didn't many, many years ago? But see, all that stuff is external. And it's easy to get caught up in that through our TV and our news. And a lot of people watch a lot of different things on TV. And what we don't realize is what we see with our eyes and what we take in with our brains, our emotional center and our thoughts process that. And we can actually become happy, angry, depressed, all of those things just from what we take in. And I'm not going to get into the medical part of how your brain takes it in and it goes through all the nerves and interprets for us. But have you ever noticed that when you, and mostly this is for women, but when you get to a point where you're just like, I just need a good cry. So what do? You put on one of those shows that just makes you cry and it makes you get it all out. Some of you are smiling. I knew we did that. Or you turn on a song. Just because you feel like you need that emotional release. And that emotional release is coming from everything external that we've tucked into ourselves. So how can we fix that on an outward level? Well, we can stop and sit down. We can meditate. We can just close that out. But you can't stop thinking, can you? Have you ever tried meditating and quieting your thoughts? And guess what happens? Oh, I've got to take that turkey out of the freezer. I've got to make sure that I call that. I got to do the bill. Right? Isn't that what happens when you try to be quiet? Because your brain is like, oh, I'm quiet. Now I can think of all those things I need to do. Especially at this time of year. The second portion I want to talk with you is about inward. Because like I said, what happens on the outside, we take in. And we start to process that. And then what happens is our thoughts start going. And we start to think, well, maybe I shouldn't have done that. And, maybe this is not a good time for this. And then we start to down that roller coaster where we start talking to ourselves in a negative or positive way. And most of the times, if we've kept ourselves upbeat, we can switch over to that because nobody controls your thoughts but you. I'm reminded of a gentleman who, they were out to dinner and everybody was happy and everything was going really well. And one of them said, hey, did you hear that so-and-so died? Of course, they weren't spiritualists, obviously. And everybody's energy in the group just went, whew, and you could feel that energy. So let me ask you what was different. Not less than 3 minutes ago, everybody was fine and happy. But what happened? Something came in, and it took their energy level down. Because if they were spiritualists, they'd be like, oh, they're having a party in spirit. But see, that changed because of everybody's thoughts, and the energy shifted. And that's not, even though it seems like it's external because somebody passed away, it's all internal. You're doing all that. So how often in the day do you do a lot of internal thinking and internal turning things around? I have patients, obviously being a home care nurse, one of the requirements is that they are homebound, which means that they are unable to leave their homes, except to go to doctors and, church. They can go to church and get their hair cut and those type of things. So they're basically in their home. And what is amazing to me is there are some people who are so focused inwards that they can't see anything except what's going around them. Right in their immediate self. So what do? They turn in. And I get to see that because when I go in, one of my questions is, are you having any pain? Are you having any problems? And it's amazing because when I first go in, they seem like they don't have any pain and they seem okay. But then once they start turning in, they start going in and, oh yeah, and my big toe hurts and my right finger hurts, and you can hear it as they start to turn in and close everything out. But the thing is, they don't have that external because they're in their home all the time. So you may be thinking, well, they could listen to music or they could watch TV. I know my mother, she puts on the oldies, Frank Sinatra, and listens to a lot of those things. And that makes her feel good. Why? Because in her brain, she's remembering back then. When she was happy and she was dancing with my father, or they were on a trip, it sparks that memory. And that memory is still in the brain. that little nerve pathway is still down there. And she uses that to get herself back into a feeling good mode. And she fluctuates. I mean, we all do. You know, we can't totally live, like I said, externally or internally, but there's a balance. And in this holiday season, I challenge you to try to find where your focus is. If it's external all the time, and you're not looking at the internal part, see if you can balance those a little bit. You know, one of the greatest sayings is know thyself. And that also means knowing where your internal dialogue is going. Know what your triggers are. Know when you start going down that pathway that you don't want to go down, and then shift it. Is it easy? No. But you can do it. You can keep it from snowballing down and down and down. My daughter just graduated with her associate science degree, and she also was pinned for her nursing. And she had asked her teacher if I could pin her, because I'm a nurse also. And her teacher said no. And so my daughter asked her several times, and she kept saying no. And my daughter was a little upset, and I said to her, I said, you know, if she let me do it, she would have to let everybody do it. I said, so think of it as a little bit of a different focus. She said, but you're a nurse. I said, well, yes, I know. And so I said, you know, there's always something we can do to fix that. So after the service, when everybody was gone, we walked up on the stage and I pinned her, and they took pictures of me pinning her. And she felt better. But I could have gone inside my head and went, well, I'm a nurse. I should be able to pin her. But I didn't. Because sometimes when things don't work the way we want them to on the external, where do we go to fix that? Internal. Because that's really the only way we can fix it. It would be nice if we could control everybody outside of us, but we can't. I don't know that that would be so good, but I digress. Some people like to try to control everything around them. And then sometimes it's really interesting because Spirit will throw something in the way and go, yeah, see, can't control that. They do have a sense of humor, you know. But keeping an even mind. I know you've heard that before from the magic staff. Keeping an even mind. The way to do that internally is through meditation. Because once you start meditating and turning in and getting your center stable, your foundation stable, it is amazing how well you can handle things that come in. Now, I get up early every morning because I have to go to work. And sometimes I just hit that snooze button. I know none of you guys do that, but sometimes I just hit that snooze button. Oh, just 10 more minutes. I'll be fine. Just 10 more minutes. But when I get up in the morning, I usually meditate. Because that is the best time for me to meditate. Some of you like to meditate before you go to bed. Some of you do it twice a day. Because it helps calm you and relax you before bed. So I did my own experiment. And I thought, okay, well, I'm going to see how a couple days go without meditating. Without turning in. Without getting that strong center. Without getting that stability within myself. And my attunement with Spirit strong. Needless to say, those weren't the most wonderful days. I seemed to get a little bit more on edge. I seemed to just somehow magically get in the middle of traffic that was going very slow. But those mornings, when I took that time to go inside and connect with that spirit part of me that is housed in this body, it was amazing how wonderful the day went. It was perfect. I was calm, I was centered, I was actually more in tune with things. I heard spirit better because I do ask for help to help make people better. And if there's insight that I can give them to help them, or if there's something specific that I need to teach them so that their life can be better, that's what I want to know. And on those days where I went in and got my center, it was amazing how much information came so clearly from Spirit. It was as if I just knew everything. Well, not everything. But I had that inside of me. And I was peaceful. And when people cut in front of me in traffic, and when this person was angry, and I held my center, all of a sudden they became calm. Because they were holding on to my strength. They were holding on to my calmness and to my peace. And to my happiness. And that shifted their energy. Because we know the law of attraction, the law of vibration. And people can feel that. And when you go in to see people and your family and friends, what are you saying to yourself? Oh God, Uncle Joe's coming again. Oh, and Susie always complains about my apple pie. Or are you focusing on the outside? Or are you focusing on the inside and giving that love and giving that encouragement? Because you know what? After Christmas, the apple pie is gone. Uncle Joe's going to forget. But your stability, that in part of you, is what goes on. You've heard that saying that people will never remember what you say, but they'll remember how you made them feel. And if you can keep your wits about you when everybody else is losing theirs, that's called sanity. And this is a trying time. You know, it is Christmas, and we do tend to get all in that anxious and excited. Which is good if you have grandkids or, you know, they're opening the presents. I love being around my grandchildren because they're just so happy and open and free and just, they're in the moment. They're not thinking of the house payment coming due and the electric bill. Because what? They're just seeing everything so wonderful. And they're not getting bogged down by all that stuff on the outside. They're holding their center. And I want to leave you with a poem today. Promise yourself to be so strong that nothing can disturb your peace of mind. Look at the sunny side of everything and make your optimism come true. Think only of the best, work only for the best, and expect only the best. Forget the mistakes of the past and press on to greater achievements of the future. Give so much time to the improvement of yourself that you have no time to criticize others. Live in the faith that the whole world is on your side, so long as you are true to the best that is in you. That is from Christian D. Larson. So let's try to make our outward and inward lives more balanced. Let's focus on bringing that inward out. And have a wonderful holiday season. God bless you all.